I have a question. If we're supposed to love others like ourselves, and we're supposed to love ourselves to love others, then from these two statements, the situation when I sacrifice my life for someone else is over-delivered. Do you see the conflict? Because if I sacrifice my life for someone else, that means I love someone else more than myself. But I'm supposed to love my neighbor like myself. So you see the conflict?
I do, but I also see where we're told in Revelation, the people that are healed and perfect enough to see Christ as he is will not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. So this inherent urge to go right up to the line but save myself is going to be purged from us, which I admit is beyond my comprehension. If you imagine that analogy of somebody holding your head underwater and you have a knife, you have the ability to make it stop to where that urge would not be there if you know that you can save the person by giving up your own life. So I agree it's contradictory to every inherent instinct that we know, but that's what he's trying to do in us, I think.
I think Christ himself may have struggled with that same.
Yes, that was his temptation.
John 13:34, he says that a new understanding of Moses' command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So if we represent as Christ did, as he loved, he sacrificed himself for us.
Yeah.
It's a greater, it defines that commandment in greater detail. So he's giving you a deeper understanding. So if we follow after Christ, his love was to sacrifice yourself.
I agree, and I think if I asked any parent in this room if there were something you could do to save your child, but it would kill you, it would cost you your life, would you be willing to do it?
Love your neighbor more than yourself.
But I'm just saying that Jesus, what I understand Jesus' comment was, is he was trying to make clarification with that by saying a greater understanding that I give to you. I mean, I see where your perspective that can be like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself, and then that's contradictory. But Jesus is saying, hey, let me explain that a little bit further. So he is our true perfection of love, and that's who I would have to follow.
I mean, if you were able to, if your child was sick and you were able to cure or heal your child, but it would cost you your life, would you be willing to do that? This is the love. This is what motivated Christ. He knew he could procure the remedy for our terminal condition, for his children's terminal condition, but that it would cost him his life in order to procure it. And for the glory set before him, he chose to endure the cross. Yes.
First of all, I think, I'm an employer. I have employees that have no idea why I do what I do sometimes. So I think we're kind of like that with Christ. I think to try to understand what he was suffering and going through, he had different priorities.
Exactly.
I don't think he came here to save himself his physical pain. I think for him, he was desperate to save as many people as possible.
Yep.
So I think, first of all, we can't quite understand what he was trying to do in measurement of what we understand. So I think there's a struggle there. The other thing is, when Mary was taking her, she was a prostitute, so her tool of the trade was perfume, very expensive, a year's worth of wages. And when she was dumping it on Jesus' feet, when I first heard, Judas saying, "What are you doing? You're just being stupid." And he said, "Let her do what she needs to do, because, the poor will always be with you." I didn't quite get that until recently, and I think what he was trying to say is, what's the point of being sacrificial to faceless people when you can't even have a relationship with the person right in front.
Yes, and connect. But to take that analogy on, what did he say right after that? He said, those who are forgiven much, love much.
So I think ultimately it is a selfish act to sacrifice yourself, because if your ultimate goal is to be with God and you don't understand everything about it, then you're going to try to do the highest honor for God.
Yeah. Oh, I do think it's all about the heart motivation. There's no doubt. Yes?
Well, Moses was a good example. At first he was killing people to get to the truth, to get things right.
Yes.
But as later on, when God said, get away from these people, let me kill them, the Israelites were doing such bad things.
Right.
Moses said, take me out of the book of life to save them.
Absolutely. And
There's an example of somebody who looks at life as not just this 80 years or whatever on earth to save. Your life is actually eternal.
Yes.
If you're a Christian, the little snippet of life you have here on earth is almost nothing.
It's
And
dust.
so saving your own life for this earth and losing it for eternity is one of the things the Bible discusses a lot of. And you'll notice Paul, Moses, Jesus, these various ones who come to a point where they are willing to sacrifice anything for the salvation of others.
Right.
Has the bigger picture of what loving yourself is.
And I think it's significant that we see that exact transformation in all of these leaders in the Bible. Moses is one, from a murderer to being willing to give up his eternal life. We see it in David, murdering Uriah, to a complete turnaround. It's a 180. Paul, the same way, persecuting, killing Christians for the kingdom, he thought, to being turned down to where he would gladly give up his life to save his fellow Jews. Yes, Ken?
I just want to interject briefly that when we have conversations or discussions like this, we are going full on into what Tim refers to as dissonance. When he brings out a lot of these things as variations from the lesson, or when we bring them out as variations in the way we may think at our various stages along the journey that we have, there's dissonance there. It's just impossible to avoid dissonance in life. Because everybody's nose begins somewhere and yours ends somewhere also. And if you get too close, you're going to have this. So this is why we're...
But we've also been taught cognitive dissonance is healthy.
Of course.
It's when the comfort zone starts to get stressed.
That for people who don't approach things in this academic or intellectual way, you also have to learn their language.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
The street language. And their language comes a lot closer to a very physical and many times a very violent language. So this is why it's important for us to get things right here, but it's also important for us to have an experience with that faceless person that our friend here just mentioned.
Yeah, in the practical realm.
Right.
All right, so let's move on to what does it mean, Russell already touched on this, to love your neighbor as yourself.